All right, guys, welcome to the 10% Fitter Method Show. We're going to be talking today all about blood sugar regulation and things like that. So just tune in and we're going to be talking about energy, focus, weight loss, but all of that connects into blood sugar regulation. I'm Anton Chumak Undercove. For those of you who don't know me that are maybe seeing my show for the first time, I apologize. I always have audio issues. I forget to turn on my audio and I start talking and my wife's like, hey, you can't hear you. So feel free to chime in and ask questions and anything I'm talking about. But today is Wednesday, and on Wednesdays we talk about nutrition as our focus point for the show. On Mondays I cover mindset of health and lifestyle. On Tuesdays I cover internal health. On Wednesday we get into nutrition. On Thursday it's movement and different things. And repeat it again the next week. 9 a.m. Mountain, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday. I'll be here to help you guys grow with your health and life knowledge. So feel free to chime in with any questions and we'll get started discussing blood sugar. I'm just trying to pull up my secondary device here so I can see your guys' comments. And then I'll be able to answer anything that comes up. And this is always a challenge because LinkedIn takes a little while to give me a notification that I'm live. There we go. All right, guys. So without further ado, let's talk about 10% Fitter Method real quick. Guys, it's about changing your life, but in a slow way, because you have too much going on. You are not your only priority. You have kids, you have, different things in your life going on, and health cannot take up 100% of yourself. But you can give 10% of yourself to health. When implemented properly and created through habits, you're going to establish patterns that are going to make your life simple, and these things are going to flow. And they're not going to feel like work, but it has to be done in a slow and gradual change. So reach out. The link is in the comments if you guys want to set up a conversation. I'm happy to give you guys information as well as educate you on some things. I will always tell you knowledge is free. You should never pay me for knowledge. That should not be why you work with a coach. If you work with a coach, it's application, custom tailoring it to your environment. That's what's most important. It's not about cramming a plan into your lifestyle. It's always about building a plan with many different inputs and different variables that are tailored and built around your lifestyle. That's how you can create health coaching that works. All right, guys, so let's dive into first thing first and talk about what are your symptoms of having poor blood sugar regulation. One is poor focus. Of course, we already mentioned that. Poor energy, different stuff like that. But how is that more experienced throughout your everyday life and more common symptoms that we see? So first one that I would have you ask you a question for yourself, it has to do with what your basically cravings are. Are you having a ton of cravings in your life for sugar, right? Especially in the evenings, you'll notice a lot of times evenings come around and cravings just become really, really strong. So that's one of the symptoms. Do you have inconsistent energy throughout the day? Maybe there's times in the afternoon where you're having a crash and you're really dropping down and your body's not able to basically maintain energy, and we blame it on lack of sleep, we blame it on sorts of things, but often it's blood sugar regulation that causes that. So that's one of the things that we want to talk about when we're looking at symptoms. The other thing we want to ask you is, are you someone who gets irritable or anxious between meals? This is important. If you've went without food for a long time and you've heard the term hangry, right? I am hangry. I want to choke you a little bit because I haven't had enough food to eat, talking to a partner or something like that. So if that's happening, chances are your blood sugar is not being regulated. Now, is there reasons for that outside of nutrition that can happen? Absolutely. And that's why it's not just about, checking the box. Yep, I have those symptoms and that means that this is what I got to do. There is deeper underlying issues that could be going on with stress that cause that. But still, you have to understand the symptom is coming from blood sugar regulation. Carbohydrate cravings or sugar cravings, they show up different, guys. It's interesting because sometimes it may be sweet tooth and people are like, I don't really have sweet tooth, but I put away potato chips like it's nobody's business. And that's just a different form of them. Your body will want either sweet, salty, or crunchy things, like some simple nutrients that it can get a blood sugar spike because it knows it crashed out. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show and then some corrective actions. Do you know health concerns that have high glucose? Is that something you may have? High triglycerides, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. Cholesterol has a lot to do with blood sugar regulation. It's not as much to do with fat intake as we thought many, many years ago. I've covered that in the past. Do you carry excess body weight, right? Is that one of the things, especially in the midsection, that could be happening that's causing a problem and you just can't lose it there? It's disproportionate. That could be stress, but it's also through blood sugar pathways that stress impacts your body that way. So the next one is going to be, is your sleep broken by frequent need to urinate during the night? When your insulin is not being regulated, hey Lacey, hey Jeremy, hey Nestle, what's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in. When your blood sugar is not being regulated, you're gonna wake up to urinate. Insulin plays a factor in that, but you're just gonna be a light sleeper. That's the more bigger issue. I've talked about this in the past. When your blood sugar is not regulated, your brain needs a certain amount of it in order to have functional sleep. But when it doesn't get enough of it, you're basically like kind of like adrenaline hormones and different things like that are going to spike to begin the pathway that starts and creates more energy into the body. But the thing is, those are wake up hormones, right? So you're waking up thinking it's because you had to go to the bathroom, but it's because your blood sugar is not regulated. I've talked about using a little bit of complex carbohydrates at night. Guys, by the way, like if you guys like what I'm talking about, smash a like button, because what I'm noticing is if you're engaging with my content, you're going to see more of it. You're going to see the notifications pop up when I'm doing it, and if you don't, you won't. So if you don't like it, of course, I don't know why you're watching it, but if you do, just smash a like button to make sure that I'm seeing that you guys are enjoying the show. But anyway, so sleep is another one of those problems that you're going to run into. Another one is if you experience acne or feel you have more wrinkles than you should for your age. All right, all the women are like perked up right now. Okay, wrinkles. You're telling me that if I have wrinkles, it's blood sugar regulation? Yes, absolutely. That plays a big, vital role in it. So if your blood sugar is not being regulated, you're going to look older. Right now, I look tired a little bit. I know that I haven't been eating that great this week with school, some transitions going on. Like, I'm just getting by. And guys, nutrition coaches, all of us, we're not perfect. Stop thinking that because we have decent shape and we're not completely fat that we're perfect. It's not about that. It's about 80-20 rule anyway. 80% of the time you're good, 20% of the time you're not. Right now I'm a little bit over my 20%, but I'll get it corrected. Don't worry. So understand your skin, your acne, all of those things play a factor. I know that when my skin is, my blood sugar is regulated, my acne gets better. I have adult acne, like some scars and stuff like that, because of my hormone imbalances through estrogen. It has to do with digestion, blood sugar, and all that stuff. But when my blood sugar is regulated, everything gets better. So that's one of the things I want to talk to you about is what are your symptoms. Now getting into, it's time to get mad, guys. Like, it is frustrating to me that I've been watching this for so long. When a person's blood sugar is outside of 84, that's your basically fasting glucose, what it should be is 84. You're going to have some symptoms of not having your body work perfectly the way that it was designed, the way that it's meant to. But your doctor will not really say anything until you cross over 100, and many won't even talk about it until you're over 125 and you're actually pre-diabetic. So the thing is, that needs to be adjusted, but don't go on doctor values here. You don't want to be good enough. Let me cover a component to you guys about health and why we have to look at basically not lab markers from a doctor's office, but look at lab markers that are optimal. I'm going to break this down real quick. Where are all of our lab values collected from? Most of this stuff comes from your hospitals, different places like that, different areas like that. So you have all this data because people go to the hospital, they collect blood, and now they can have all this data to say what are norms supposed to be. Here's the thing, guys. When you're measuring from hospitals, do healthy people go to the hospital? No. Why would they? So whenever you're creating this standard deviations and creating means of this data and averages, you're using not optimized data. So then what they do is they take this massive millions of data and they say, okay, here's the mean, here's the middle of it. Now we're going to go 2 standard deviations out and include everybody under this umbrella as considered healthy. That's not what they're saying. They're not saying healthy. They're saying everybody's under this umbrella is not diseased, which guess what? That's 95% of population that they're basically covering, saying that 5% of population is diseased. But when you look at optimal values from healthy people, those ranges are much more stricter. So perfect number is 84, but you don't go and your doctor's not going to correct something with your blood sugar until you're over 125. Big range, right? That's a problem. With testosterone, same thing. Like my testosterone, it sometimes gets down pretty low, but it should be up in like 800s, 900s because I'm young still. But if I'm not under 250, my medical doctor is not saying anything wrong, because that's just a standard 250 or lower, you have a problem. You mean for a 30-year-old, for a 20-year-old, for a 50-year-old, the same threshold? That's wrong. That doesn't work like that. That's not actual optimization. But to test for actual disease, it does work. So understand, big difference between being optimal and feeling amazing throughout your everyday life and not being diseased. I don't know about you. I want a thriving life. I don't want a surviving life. And avoiding disease is just surviving. I want to thrive. So what sources of sugar can we intake every day, and what quantity, and what are the ones to avoid? So as far as sugar, just natural sugar, like this is where people are going to be, and excuse me, they're just Nazis. Like they're so crazy, and they go and they say, you can't have a fruit, you're going to gain weight. No, you're not. Like, if you're going from eating donuts to eating fruit, high five, you just really improved your health. So natural sugars are okay. In moderation, don't make a fruit diet where you're having a fruit smoothie every day of the week, with lots and lots of different fruits and no fiber and no veggies. But the other thing is, sometimes I'll use raw honey. With honey, it's not that great for weight loss, but it actually has a lot of positive effects with it. When you have honey, have it local, because then it's pollinated from the bees in the area that work with the same allergens that you may have, and that'll help you a lot with being able to have better allergy responses. So that's why I say honey should be local. Now, in general, stevia is what I use for a sweetener. Stevia is a naturally occurring sugar. It doesn't have to be chemically processed or anything like that. So it's naturally occurring in nature. So it's a lot better for you. Then the other thing, if you have some sugar from time to time, it's okay. It's the quantities of sugar that we're having. I'll talk about that in a second. So context is so key for lab values, and asking lots of questions of your physician is so important. Yes, David, that's a great point. Don't just go off on random information. Just ask questions, guys. Empower yourself with knowledge. And if you want a doctor that is more on the Western side, not necessarily a naturopath, will be covered by insurance, it's a DO. DOs are a little bit better. Monk fruit, yep, sure, man, that's a great one. DOs are a little bit better. They're going to look a little bit more at the whole system versus just a standalone hormone. They're a little bit more educational. They'll teach you stuff. So I usually go to DOs for that. That's a great point. So ask questions from your doctors. So it's time you guys got mad, because there's a lot of problems going on with sugar industry and different things like that. And I need you to understand that USDA guidelines are just outdated. They're a problem, but we're blowing way past USDA guidelines. The other thing that I need you to understand, why I want you to get mad, is some of these food labels. They're just not easy to read. They trick you with these different ways of putting things. Food labels, I think, are going to get improved over the next few years. They're working on making them better. But take a look at this, right? Most people just look at the top and they say, okay, calories. This one has 230 calories. This one has 250 calories on the left. On the right is 230. About the same, right? So most people that are considering weight loss and just eating healthy, they're like, okay, it's about even. Maybe you even go down and look at carbohydrates, because you're aware enough to say, all right, I know that carbohydrates in large quantities potentially will be against my goals, because I may be wanting to lose weight, or my blood sugar regulation is bad, so I don't want to have a lot of carbohydrates at once. So maybe you looked at them and you saw on the right, you have 37 grams of carbs, on the left only 26. So the one on the left seems like a better choice. It's about the same calories, but way less carbs. But here's the problem. The one on the right only has 1 gram of added sugar. The one on the left has 26 grams of added sugar. Added sugar chemically does a lot of bad things to you on your cellular level. It's not just about calories. A lot of these gurus on Instagram starting to talk about, just eat less and exercise more and it's fine, because they're in their 20s. They don't have to deal with cellular health like you do if you're past 35. So if you're below that, guys, chances are just eating less. Don't listen to the show. This show is not for people that are super young and they're healthy and they don't, they just eat less and move more. It's that simple. But if you've now got stress in your life, if you've got now hormone issues, you're older. That's who this show is for, because it's just not the same. Things change. It's funny, you see David commenting. He's like the example of health. He's a little bit, I don't remember how old you are, but I think you're past 40, David. But the dude's in amazing shape. I think you're pushing 50. I'm talking about your age. I hope it's okay. But he's in amazing shape. But I bet you he has to modify some things that he does in order to stay in that shape comparing to what he has to do in his 20s. Things change. Things adapt. Our body's not the same. The tools they used in the past no longer work. So understand, this is why you need to get mad. Food labels trick you. And advertising on things, on boxes, tricks you. The word's natural. It's just such a tricky word. And healthy and all this stuff. They just find one aspect of it, call it that, but the rest of the thing is unhealthy. So don't be tricked by food labels and what you see on boxes. Guys, in general, I would simplify this. When you're shopping in grocery stores, right? Shop on the outside aisles. If you don't know much about nutrition and you're like, I don't know what's good, I don't know what's bad, shop on the outside aisles. Why? Because the outside aisle food goes bad. The inside aisle food is fully processed, it doesn't go bad. That's why it's structured that way in a grocery store. Grocery stores have plans on how to get you to buy certain things versus others and maximizing that. So just focus on the outside of the grocery store and you'll be better off with it. So nutrition labels are a problem, guys. This is something that you need to become much more better versed in understanding. Look also at per servings, right? So you have to look at how much per serving, but how many servings are in that bottle, right? So they can say, oh yeah, it's this big of a bottle. It's not a lot of total calories, but there is 8 servings in it. So understand those things and what you're getting into your body, because the last thing you want is a big blood sugar spike throughout the day, and I'll talk about this in a sec. So here's an example. This next one right here is an example of a typical your day. Right, so for breakfast, you woke up, you have a whole grain cereal with 1/2 a cup of skim milk. Oh God, I hate skim milk. Glass of orange juice, right? Typical, nothing bad there. Most people would not consider that an unhealthy breakfast. Then for snack, you're gonna have a non-fat vanilla latte. God, I hate that word, non-fat. And 100-calorie snack pack, right? Easy, 100 calories, small amount, something that we typically focus on. And then we get into lunch. 12-inch turkey sandwich with a little bit of baked Lay's chips, right? Nothing crazy, that light, still not getting crazy with calories. Then with Fiesta, lime chicken for dinner, right? Pretty good. If you looked at this plan, it's not that bad, but it's got 103 grams of sugar in it. I tell people never go over 50. Don't go over 50 grams of sugar. That's just already a lot. 50 grams of sugar is already a lot. I think the regulation, I believe, is 25%, is what let me see here real quick. I have it pulled up so I can tell you guys. We are supposed to have less than 5% of our total calories from added sugar. That's just 25 grams on a 2,000 calorie diet. 25 grams. Your one soda's got about 60. Wow, right? You're supposed to only have 25. This is why when people go on diets and they're trying to create these massive changes, but I see them drinking soda, I'm like, let's stop your soda. Let's start there. Let's create a 10% change with you. Let's say identify the worst thing that you're doing and stop it from happening, and that is your soda. So the minute that happens, his energy goes up, that person's motivation goes up, that person looks better, their inflammation. And that's the only thing we changed, because we got rid of 120 grams of sugar per day because you were doing it twice a day. Now, guys, your diet soda, it is just as bad. It creates different havoc on your system, but it's also just as bad for you. So don't think just because you're doing diet, it's necessarily better. I actually think drinking regular soda is better, because then you actually account for the calories. Then you think about, okay, there's actually all these calories that I'm having, so I can only get away with maybe a half a soda. You're going to limit it. But the 0-0 crap that you're seeing, you're like, oh my God, there's no calories. I can do just fine. It screws up your insulin, screws up your internal health really bad, and then your hunger levels and all these things start to shift and change, and you don't think it's coming from that diet soda because it's healthy. It's not that bad for you. So guys, understand, things are not that simple. Carbs and sugars tend to sneak into places. You have to be aware. This is also why I see people go, you know what, I'm not eating a ton of calories, but I'm not losing weight. Well, if all your calories are coming from a bunch of sugars, especially added sugars, yes, you're not losing weight because chemically things are going on inside that are not good for you, and that's a big problem. So, right, what in the world do you do about it? Let's really dive into this and wrap up the show this way today. Guys, have you heard a saying, breakfast is the greatest meal of the day? Your mom, your grandma's, everybody's saying that. Now, does it mean that breakfast has to happen? No. But if you have blood sugar regulation problems, black breakfast has to happen. If you're noticing some of the symptoms we talked about and different things like that, guys, everything I've talked about today has been about energy and focus and motivation. But it's not how to fix energy and focus motivation. It's address the symptom or address the root cause that causes lack of those, and that's your blood sugar. So by addressing your blood sugar, we fix those areas. We don't need to talk about your mindset or motivation and journaling and different things like that. That's an added layer that'll help, but let's fix the root cause of why that motivation is not good by fixing your blood sugar. So for breakfast, the way you start your day is going to dictate your patterns throughout the day. This is an easy experiment. I don't need you to do traveling a lot, how to eat on the road. I'll touch that in a sec. If I forget, just DM me and I'll cover it. I'll give you details as well, Jerry. So it's what do you do? Wake up in the morning, start your day with a fat and protein based breakfast. Don't create a blood sugar spike. So we looked at that orange juice and say oatmeal or something like that. That's a typical thing, or many of you may be doing toast and different stuff like that. So what happens is that energy is very simple. That orange juice, that bread, it's already been broken down. So your body doesn't have to do a lot to access it. There's not a lot of work that has to occur. So quickly creates a massive amount of energy. At this point, your body's going to stop burning fat, because your body doesn't. Why would your body access more fuel for energy if it already has an overabundance in a very simple form in sugar? It's not going to do that. So now for the next couple hours, you're not burning fat because you're trying to clear out this simple energy in your body. Guess what else is happening? Because you have an overabundance, now your insulin is going to come in, and insulin is a store hormone. It's going to say, hey, let me grab this extra energy and save it for later use when I need it, because right now this is just too much. What does that look like? What does that extra stored energy look like? Fat. You know where it goes? Right in the center, right around the belly button where all of you hate it, and then you look down and you can't stand it. So get rid of that blood sugar. So fat and protein based breakfast. So when you're traveling on the road, it's about looking at concepts versus looking at what do I eat specifically, right? So then I know if I'm on the road, I need to start my day with a lot of fat and a lot of protein, whatever sources around me that may be. It could be eggs, it could be full fat Greek yogurt, lots of nuts, different things like that to beef up your day. Then you get into the lunch, and same thing. What do I need to do? What do I have coming up? If I have a meeting coming up, say at 2 o'clock, I should not do a big blood sugar meal at lunch because I'm going to crash out by the time that meeting rolls around. This is something that a lot of people don't focus on, but application of these things for organizations and professional development. This is what I love. That's my bread and butter. I love working with organizations to help your people function better. Here's the catch, guys. I challenge any one of you that are watching right now or watching later, if you're a leader in an organization, give me one thing that your team members will spend more on personal development that'll impact them positively at work, the time they will spend outside of work compared to anything else. Nothing will trump their health. Nothing will trump you investing into their health and educating them on how to be better. Give me a call. Let's set up a time, and I'll show you what I can do for you for workshop. With my book, Death by 1,000 Paper Cuts, you got 4 days left. I'm giving away amazing perks. If you're a leader, take a look. You buy 25 books. You give each one of your team members a free book signed by me. I come deliver a virtual workshop for you, or in person if you're in Denver. That's pretty cool, guys. You're going to be a champion of health for your people, while for very cheap, helping your organizations perform better with profits while making your people sustain their jobs better. Guys, don't wait on this. You got a few days. Otherwise, that costs $3,000. So it's just 25 to 50 books depending on what workshop you choose. But anyway, so lunch. Once again, on the road, look conceptually. Look at macro levels. Maybe you grab a salad. Don't go to, what are they called? Fast food joints. Some of those salads are insane in sugar. Go to fries. Pick up one of those salads or something like that. Even if you got a sandwich in. It's okay if you got some bread with it, because we're not trying to be perfect on the road. But make sure there's plenty of avocado in it, plenty of fats, meats, lots of protein and fat to go along with that carb. So focus on macro level intake when you're on the road, and hopefully that helps. We want to consulting about leather manufacturing. I'm not sure what that has to do with this, but sorry. Anyway, if you want to work with your people, if that's something you're asking and you need some consulting with leather manufacturing people, how to make them better, I'll help you out if that's what you're asking, but just reach out. Link is in the things. All right, so what else can you do about blood sugar? Lots of protein and lots of fiber. Those are two key areas. As far as if your blood sugar is off, and especially if you're trying to lose some weight, I push a little bit of higher protein. This is where people say, oh my God, what about kidneys? If you don't have a pre-existing kidney condition, high amount of protein will not hurt you. If you have a pre-existing kidney condition, be careful with protein. Do not do anything without consulting the doctor, because that's a diagnosed problem. If you have a diagnosis, no matter what I tell you, first check with your doctor. If you don't have a diagnosis, sit down with me. I can help you out and solve a lot of these problems. Any comments on agave? Better than regular sugar, but still not the best source. Still quite a bit of glycemic index with it. It's going to spike blood sugar a lot, so I prefer not to use that. Subway, not sure about the different sauces. So sauces at Subway, they put a ton of sugar. Be easy. I would not use sauces. Usually balsamic vinegar, olive oil. I do a lot of olive oil because it gives me that extra fat. Maybe get some mayo because you got some fat in there as well. But some of these sauces, like sweet onion sauces and different things like that, they got a ton of sugar. This is how you sneak in a ton of sugar. Ketchup, guys, it's like half sugar. You got to be careful. There's a lot. Anything else I'm seeing here? Sorry, guys, just looking at some comments. Is it advice to replace processed sugar with honey and jaggery? Yes, because natural sugars will always be better, but stevia will work better because of the response to blood sugar. You have to look at sugars, just Google glycemic index of different sugars, and you want to select the one that has the smallest response that you can be okay with the taste. Guys, let's get real. If you're going from eating a ton of just cane sugar, or even worse, like processed sugars and creamers and stuff like that, and you switch to something like honey, is it the best? No, but are you making a big change that may be enough to create a difference? Absolutely. So understand where you're at. We talked about assessing earlier this week. You have to create the needed change that's applicable to where you're at. You have to understand your level of readiness too. So if you've never made changes and you're trying to be perfect, you're not going to happen. You have to appease your taste. You have to appease other things to make these changes stick. And that's the focus of my 10% fitter method, is understanding your life and building everything around your life to make this change. But also, that's why I'm a life coach at the same time as a health coach. You kind of have to work with them together. When you've been doing this for 10 plus years like I have been, you'll understand that one does not change without the other. I've seen divorce happen because people didn't address their life, but they addressed their health. I've seen so many bad things happen. I've seen relapses happen with health because people didn't address their life. It's a big problem. So what else you can do about it? I mentioned fiber. If you can't eat lots of veggies, supplement with fiber. Start doing protein shakes, right? If you don't eat well, once again, I prefer natural food. But if you need help with supplementation and nutrition, on my website, www.10percentfitter.com, you guys can go and see my supplement recommendations. Reach out to me. I'll give you a discount code, whatever you want. I want to help you out any way I can. But say you can't get regular meals in. No excuse. Put a scoop of protein in a shaker, a scoop of fiber in a shaker. You can do that as greens or just pure fiber, and just carry it with you. Add water on the go, shake it up, down the hatch, pop. Now we regulated your blood sugar. Now your body's not crashing out, creating cravings. Now your body's not going to put something simple in because you're so famished and creating a big spike and not losing fat or losing focus and different things like that. So guys, all of this is important for your business. All of this is important for your life. All of this is important for your relationships. All this is important is for your weight. Guys, all of these things are interconnected. It's not just about losing weight. It's not just about fixing stress. It's how these things play a factor everywhere in your life. So if there's no other questions, just looking here. And guys, don't forget, just hit like if you haven't yet and you like the show, because when you engage with the show, LinkedIn will make sure you see more of my notifications. Because I was kind of paying attention to this yesterday. I know there's a lot of LinkedIn Live creators, but I only get notifications for a few. And I'm like, oh man, I'd really like to see more people and what they're doing, but for some reason it doesn't happen. I'm assuming it's because if I don't engage with that content, it doesn't get I don't get notified with it. So make sure you guys are smashing that like button. Any other questions? No. All right. So tomorrow we'll talk about movement. I'll start discussing movement with you guys and just idea of exercise. What we'll talk about tomorrow is a difference between working out and programming. There's a big difference, just aimlessly. If I were to relate this to your business, that's going to be a difference between just typing in random, things and doing work, or actually having a plan of attack for the day on what you're trying to accomplish. How does that connect to what you did yesterday, and how does that connect to what you're going to do tomorrow? And that's a big difference between programming and working out. So make sure you guys are tuning in tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the last one for the week, and then I'll restart on Monday. And this is 10% Fitter method, 10% Fitter show, which is part of my 10% Fitter method, and it's all about coaching. It's all about subtle change. I work with a lot of women, but that's not to say that I won't work with a men. It's just, you guys, if I work with a man, to be honest with you, I have less shit to talk to you about, because I've been raised by women and I live pretty much with all women minus my little Oakley, but he's only like 7 months, so I have nothing to talk to him about yet. When he gets a little older, I'll be better with conversing with men. So if you take me on as a coach and you're a man, just know that I connect better with women, but I'm still happy to help you. Why? Because my mission is to help 10 million people to realize their potential by impacting their body and mind in order to create more human sustainability in the world. That's what 10% Fitter is all about. If I were to give you a macro view of what I'm trying to do, is we are living in an unsustainable way. That's what I want to close this off with. The way that we live is equivalent to what we're doing to our Earth. Basically, when I heard about Earth Overshoot Day, that really opened up my eyes into sustainability as a human being. If you're not familiar with Earth Overshoot Day, it basically says, I think it happened July 30th or something like that this year. So it means, at what point in a year do we use up all our resources on the planet that we should have used up for the year? So in July, by end of July, we're already done. So August, September, October, November, we're going into debt to our mother nature. Now, we started talking about environment back in the 60s. It's not until 2007 that the increase of how much sooner that day was happening started to slow down. Now, the same thing is happening what you do daily as a person. You use up more of your resources, more of your mind power, more of your ability to be, manage stress, more ability to get rid of toxicity, more of your ability to get rid of blood sugar, regulate all those different things, digestion. You tax your body. Some of you are using up your resources for the year by April. Some of you are better. Some of you may be getting to October. Some of you are living the way that you can be sustained. But majority of our society is using up resources for our health well before we hit halfway through the year. That is scary. And what's scarier than that is that we are not going to have a wake-up call until 20 to 30 years down the road, because that's how long it took to wake up with our environment. Guys, we live in a state of willful ignorance. This is a little bit of seriousness, guys. I love you. I will support you, but it's time to wake up. It's time to stop pushing health off. It's time to stop making excuses of time and resources. I'm telling you, give me a call. There's a link in the thing. Set up a time. In an hour, I will put you on a health journey. I promise you, that'll help you. Even if we don't work together, because I will information dump on you, and I will give you a way to have a macro level view of your health, so you can ask better questions, and you can start knocking out one small thing at a time and creating, habits that'll transform your life, guys. It is serious. My dad passed away when he was 45. He died from stomach cancer from not taking care of his stress, but ultimately turned into lymphoma, and that's what took him out. And there's stuff that you're doing today that could cause that 10 to 15 years down the road. That's the reality. And it's heavy. If you don't want me as a coach, I may not fit you as a coach. I'm not like cuddly. I'm not like wrap your arms around you and like it's going to be okay. Like if you're not doing the work, it's not going to be okay. And you get called out by me. I'm going to sit you down and say, how important is this to you? Is raising your grandkids and being able to go to them and play sports and do all these things important to you? And stop making excuses about how your job is keeping you from health. Stop making excuses how income is now allowing you to go for a walk every day and find ways to be healthy. Your kids, your next generations, your legacy deserves you to be better. So sorry to be a little bit on my soapbox, but we don't respond to logic, and I usually focus on logic a lot and why this needs to happen. I'll prove to you how I'll get you the time back. But ultimately, it's emotion that drives our decisions. And it's time to stop making excuses. It's time to stop, saying I'll do it later. It's time you connected the choices you make today to the problems you're going to have 10 to 20 years down the road. So tomorrow, guys, tune in. By the way, I have a webinar coming up on September 10th. Look at my link yesterday. If you go back, I forgot to add it today. But on September 10th, I will do a webinar, which I might actually figure out a way to do it live. I think I can. And I'll go over all the different things that plague your internal health. We'll basically do a live assessment. And what I'll do is I'll take you through a questionnaire that I'll send out to anybody that sends me an email. I'll send you the questionnaire. You'll fill that questionnaire out. You'll score yourself. And then you'll be able to say in different categories, is it digestion, is it hormonal health, is it stress, is it blood sugar regulation, is it minerals and nutrients and stuff like that, to identify what is broken that is causing some of your symptoms. Because when you go and fix health from inside out, health adjustment becomes really simple and really easy. It's not that difficult to fix your health when you correct those internal things that have been slowly getting bad over the last 10, 20 years that you've been doing it. So September 10th, check it out, and the link is in my last post for live yesterday, and I'll add it in the future ones. But make sure you register. Anybody that registers will get the thing. If I do it live, you won't get the opportunity to do the worksheet and really answer your questions yourself. You just get general awareness and understanding. So guys, bring me your questions. Food wastage issue. Yeah, I mean that's a problem, guys. You know, we waste a lot of food. Guys, this is a thing that pisses me off, and I'll cover this thing real quick. Perfect example, a law in my city that requires restaurants to throw away unused food. I understand it's a health concern. I understand that that's a problem. But there's people starving on the streets that could use that food. Is there not a system that we can come up that can be compliant with food regulation and still not use, not waste that food? As human beings on an individual level, the amount of food we throw away is insane, guys. And this is where nutrition coaching helps, because it helps you to plan ahead. The reason we waste food is we overcook, we don't pay attention to what we're doing, we just kind of reactively operating. When we start to be proactive and start to consider what we're doing ahead of time, not does it just nutrition improve, our pockets improve, and our food waste improves. So that's a great point. Thank you, Rohan, for bringing that up, man. That's a big thing in society, guys. I love sustainability of all sorts. It's not that I don't talk about the earth and the planet. Like I yelled at my kid for using straws the other day. I hate straws. I wish we knew how many problems they cause for animals in our environment. But there's a lot of people talking about earth side of sustainability. But there's not a lot of people talking about the societal and individual side of human sustainability. And that's why I preach that so much, just to try to be the balance and try to get people to wake up before it's too late. You know, we don't want climate change to be creating problems for us by the time it's too late within our bodies, like it is to our planet. I'm not saying the climate change is going to cause that, but our actions that we're doing today is going to do the same thing the climate change is doing to the planet. If you don't believe in it, guys, I don't know. It's just maybe living under a rock. But that's not what I'm here necessarily to discuss. So tomorrow, movement. Hopefully you guys tune in. Same time, 8 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. Tonight, I have a show at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific with the Sassy Method creator, Chris Demolion. We've been doing these on Instagram and we've been doing them on Facebook because none of us have had LinkedIn live privileges. Thank you guys to LinkedIn for granting me this, by the way, because you see why I've been wanting to do this. All I want to do is give knowledge. That's all I want to do is dump information, give you guys solutions and answers. And if you need applications, then reach out. Let's set up a coaching session. But tonight we'll cover why do people start things and don't finish things, having to do with health programs, courses, coachings, whatever it may be. We'll really dive into that. And she's a big mindset coach, so most of the things we talked about have a lot to do with mindset. But I also debunk a lot of the methodology that that exists around health and just some of the stuff that people say and they just don't get the big picture. Now, I want to say this and leave you on this. I'm not against other health coaches. If you ever say this is stupid, this is not, I'm not blaming them. They just may not have had the experience that is needed to understand the bigger picture. My first year, second year of health coaching, I was like them. I thought that this one thing that I did can work for everybody. Then I understood the complexity of a human body, and 10 years, 11, 12 years down the road, now I understand that it's not that simple. So I'm not mad at them. I just need to be the counterbalance to make sure that you're not sitting there beating yourself up saying, wow, I suck, because you're just missing a big component of internal health, or you're missing something that's a bigger picture and why the thing that you're being told to do is not working. It's not always your fault. Don't be so hard on yourselves. There is just something that you may not know. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll chat with you guys tomorrow. Bye.